After 60, stop doing these 7 habits that secretly shorten your life. Live longer and healthier. Have you ever had one of those mornings where you catch yourself moving just a little slower than usual? Maybe it's while tying your shoes or getting out of bed. That small thought that slips in. I don't feel quite as steady as I used to. It's a quiet feeling, but it lingers. And for many of us over 60, it's a reminder that time keeps moving forward, even if we'd rather it slow down a little. But here's something that doesn't get said enough. Just because the years are adding up doesn't mean we have to feel older than we really are. There's a lot we can't control about aging, sure. But there are also habits, small things we do every day without thinking, that quietly wear us down faster than they should. And if we're not paying attention, those little things can add up to bigger health problems down the road. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. 7 common habits people often keep doing after 60 that can secretly shorten your life. And more importantly, how to let go of those habits and replace them with choices that help you feel steady, energized, and in control of your health. These aren't complicated medical routines or drastic changes, just simple, clear steps that fit into the life you're already living. Let's start with the first habit, sitting too long without moving. Now, I know plenty of folks who love a good afternoon in their favorite chair, whether it's reading a book, watching TV, or chatting with friends. And there's nothing wrong with relaxing. But when sitting stretches on for hours without standing up or moving around, it can quietly lead to problems like poor circulation, weaker muscles, and even higher risks for heart issues. I once spoke with a gentleman in his late 60s who told me he'd gotten into the habit of sitting through most of his afternoons, especially after retiring. It felt comfortable at first, but after a while he noticed his legs felt stiffer, his balance wasn't as steady, and even his energy levels dropped. Once he started making it a point to stand up every 30 minutes, walk around the room, or even do a few stretches, he said it made a noticeable difference. It wasn't about turning into an athlete, it was just about keeping his body gently active throughout the day. Now, let's talk about the second habit, which is skipping meals or not eating enough nutritious food. It's easy to fall into the mindset of thinking, I'm not as hungry as I used to be, and leaving it at that. But as we get older, our bodies still need steady fuel, especially protein and key nutrients that help maintain muscle, bone strength, and mental sharpness. One woman I know, in her early 70s, admitted she often skipped breakfast because she just didn't feel hungry in the morning. Over time, though, she noticed her energy felt lower and her skin didn't look as bright. Once she started having something simple in the morning, a bowl of oatmeal, a small cup of yogurt with some fruit, she said she felt more steady through the whole day. Again, it wasn't about big changes, just adding in those small, steady meals that give your body what it needs. And that leads us to the third habit, not drinking enough water. This one surprises a lot of people because it seems so simple. But as we age, our sense of thirst can get a little quieter. We may not feel thirsty as often, even when our body really needs hydration. And dehydration isn't just about feeling thirsty. It can lead to headaches, muscle cramps, confusion, and even a higher risk of falls. I remember visiting with a couple in their early 70s who said they often forgot to drink water throughout the day. They didn't even realize how little they were having until their doctor pointed it out. Once they made a habit of keeping a water bottle nearby and sipping throughout the day, they both felt clearer, more awake, and surprisingly, less achy in their joints. It was a simple fix with a big payoff. Now that we've covered the first few habits, sitting too long, skipping nutritious meals, and not drinking enough water, let's keep this conversation going. There are still a few more everyday choices that might seem harmless, but can quietly take a toll on your health as the years roll on. Now that we've talked about the importance of moving regularly, keeping up with steady meals, and remembering to drink enough water throughout the day, let's keep going because there are still a few habits that seem small, but can quietly work against your health without you even realizing it. One of those is not getting enough quality sleep. You know how it is. Some nights you fall asleep just fine, but other nights it feels like your mind just won't quiet down. Or maybe you wake up several times in the middle of the night, looking at the clock and counting the hours until morning. It happens to a lot of folks after 60, but here's the thing. While it might seem like just part of getting older, regularly missing out on good sleep can have real effects on your health. Sleep is when your body does a lot of its repair work. It helps regulate your blood pressure, balance your hormones, and keep your memory sharp. Without enough of it, things start slipping. You might feel foggy-headed during the day, more irritable, or even less steady on your feet. I once spoke with a man in his early 70s who said he'd gotten so used to sleeping just 4 or 5 hours a night that he didn't think twice about it. But when he finally made a few small changes, like turning off the TV a little earlier and making his bedroom a bit cooler and darker, he started sleeping longer stretches. And after a couple of weeks, he said it felt like he had a whole new level of energy and focus. Now, the next habit ties right into that, relying too much on processed foods and sugar. I know how tempting it can be. Prepackaged snacks are easy, especially if cooking feels like a chore some days. And there's something comforting about a little sweet treat in the afternoon. But when too much of your daily food comes from packaged snacks, frozen dinners, or sugary treats, it starts taking a toll. Those kinds of foods are often high in salt, unhealthy fats, and ingredients that make your blood sugar spike and crash, leaving you feeling more tired than energized. Over time, eating this way can quietly raise your risk for heart disease, diabetes, and even memory problems. One woman I know, in her late 60s, told me she realized she'd slipped into a habit of relying on frozen meals because they were just so convenient. But once she started preparing simpler, fresher meals, like grilled fish with vegetables or a hearty salad, she noticed her energy felt steadier and she wasn't as bloated or stiff in her joints. It doesn't mean you have to give up everything you enjoy. It's just about finding a better balance. Maybe preparing a little extra dinner to have leftovers the next day, or swapping out a packaged snack for a handful of nuts or some fresh fruit. Those small shifts add up. The next habit might seem harmless but really adds up over time, ignoring minor health issues. After 60, it's easy to brush things off. A little ache here, a little stiffness there. Maybe a bit of dizziness when you stand up too quickly, or a cough that lingers a little longer than usual. A lot of folks figure it's just part of aging, nothing serious. But sometimes those small signals are your body's way of asking for attention before things get worse. I remember hearing about a gentleman in his 70s who ignored some recurring chest tightness, figuring it was just indigestion. Turns out it was his heart trying to warn him. Thankfully, he got checked in time, but it could have been much more serious. Whether it's unusual fatigue, persistent aches, or anything that doesn't feel quite right, it's always better to check in with your doctor. Getting ahead of a small issue is always easier than dealing with a big one later. Now that we've talked about these quieter habits, missing sleep, eating too many processed foods, and ignoring small health signals, let's keep this steady flow going. There are still a couple more subtle but important things many of us do without even realizing they're chipping away at our strength and well-being. As we continue this conversation, there's one more habit I often see that quietly affects how long and how well we live after 60. And that's withdrawing from social connections. Now I know life changes as the years go by. Friends move away, family members get busy, and sometimes we simply don't feel like going out as much as we used to. But spending too much time alone, without meaningful conversation or company, can do more than just leave us feeling a little lonely. It can quietly affect both our mental and physical health. I remember speaking with a woman in her 70s who said after she stopped working, the days felt a little longer and quieter. At first she enjoyed the peace, but after a while she noticed she wasn't feeling quite as sharp or cheerful. It wasn't anything dramatic, just small things, like forgetting where she put her keys or feeling more tired than usual. But once she started meeting up with friends again, even for a short walk or a cup of tea, she felt a spark come back. Her energy lifted, her mood brightened, and those small slips of memory happened less often. That's because staying connected with others keeps your brain active. Conversations, laughter, shared experiences, all of those things feed your mind and heart in ways that go beyond what food or exercise alone can do. And it doesn't have to be about having a big social calendar. It's as simple as calling a friend, joining a local group, or even chatting with a neighbor when you cross paths outside. Now, bringing everything we've talked about together, those 7 habits that quietly take away from your health and years, they all share one thing in common. They sneak in slowly. Sitting too long, skipping meals, not drinking enough water, missing sleep, eating too many processed foods, ignoring small health issues, and withdrawing from others. None of them seem urgent in the moment, But over time, they shape how you feel day by day, and eventually, how long and how well you live. The good news is it's never too late to make small changes. Whether it's standing up and stretching every 30 minutes, making sure you eat a simple breakfast, or setting a reminder to call a friend, these little steps build on each other. And the more you bring them into your routine, the more natural they'll feel. I always say, staying healthy and strong after 60 isn't about chasing youth. It's about giving yourself the respect and care you've earned through all your years. It's about staying independent, staying steady, and enjoying each day with as much clarity, energy, and peace as possible. If today's chat has given you some ideas or reminders about habits you'd like to adjust, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. What's one habit you've changed recently that made you feel better? Or maybe there's a habit you're working on letting go of right now. And if you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like and subscribe to the channel. We share more easy, real-world health and wellness tips like this, always focused on living well after 60, at your own pace and in your own way. Here's to living your best life at any age. To steady days, clear minds, and strong bodies. Keep making choices that feel good to you, stay connected, and take care of yourself. I'll see you again soon.